joined today by Dan Thomas, Managing Director of Hammer Metals. Dan, thanks for your time.
Thanks, David.
Busy year for Hammer. Last 12 months, what have been some of the highlights?
Yeah, the 12-month period's been quite exciting from my perspective. We've really focused back in on Mount Isa, and that started about this time last year with our Trafalgar discovery in our what was then a joint venture with JOGMEC. That changed in, I think it was about July this year, with Sumitomo Metal Mining coming on board as part of that joint venture. And that really focused in on a trend that runs in between the Trafalgar discovery then through to our deposits, our JORC resources up at Jubilee and Elaine, and that corridor and that trend has really started to deliver some really interesting results, culminating in our drill result from the weekend.
What's been the highlight from the drilling?
The current drilling program, the definite highlight out of it was our intercept on the weekend. So we started drilling on Saturday. I got a phone call at about midday on Saturday saying, look, we've hit some really interesting sulphides. That hole was finished on Sunday. It went down to about 200 metres. At 27 metres of depth, we hit 10 metres with an XRF result of 3.5% copper. Now it is XRF, it's not from the lab, it's not a certified lab. It still needs to be analysed properly, potentially for some gold as well. So we're waiting on those results, but that's certainly been the highlight. We're all ready to roll this week. We had some drilling done at Kalman late last year. Those results came out this morning, and that had been our focus. So Kalman looks like it's evolving. It's open again to the north. We've found new mineralisation there, and that structure still remains open for further testing. So it's been a really busy start to the year, and the results are just starting to trickle through. And
you're in a known mining jurisdiction, so you've got the infrastructure around you, you've got that advantage.
Definitely. I think a lot of world-class mineral discoveries there. The likes of Mount Isa, Ernest Henry, toll treating options for ore to go through those deposits is fantastic. We've seen some nearby exploration success with our neighbours at Carnaby having a fantastic result at the end of last year, carrying on into this year. I think what you're starting to see is some of these old areas that have been neglected, I think, for decades from an exploration perspective, finally getting some funding into them. And these are the types of results I think you can expect to continue out of these areas that have been poorly tested.
Is the poor testing largely a function of companies not having enough money to do the quantum of work that's needed?
Yeah, when I started with Hammer, I think we had $1 million in the bank. And if you had a look at our annual reports for the last decade, we'd have $1 million to $2 million maximum in the account at any one time. So your decision making really is quite short-sighted in terms of, well, you've got to keep getting through this cycle and getting through news and drilling the best targets you've got. But you can only test a couple of targets when you've got that sort of bank balance with any surety of trying to get through. And sure, you pick your best ones. But for instance, in our current drilling program, with sort of $8 million in cash at the end of last year, we're testing 12 separate targets in the Mount Isa region. And 12 targets, a lot of targets, a lot of chances for success, a lot of little lotto tickets. Sure, there's great science behind them, but these areas, as I said, haven't been tested for decades, if at all.
What does 2022 and 2023 look like for Hammer?
Gee, that's a really tough question. We know what's changing in the world at the moment, but copper price is really strong at 10,000 a tonne. The molybdenum price, which no one's talking about, is $45,000 a tonne, and we've got a copper molybdenum project. We've got 400,000 tonnes of JORC resource already in the bank. I'd like to think we've had 3 or 4 really good results over the last 12 months, and we're looking to add copper tonnes to that equation for us to take that step from being purely an explorer to a copper developer, and I don't think there's many copper developers out there. So I'd like to see ourselves well on that journey over the next 2 years, adding copper tonnes, getting to that critical mass where we know we've got a development story in front of us, and I think the ground's capable of delivering those results.
The right neighbourhood, so a great package, the right partners, well funded, exciting times ahead for 2022 and beyond. Looking forward to following the story. Dan, thanks for your time.
Thanks, David.